Hello, welcome everyone. I want to just thank everyone for being here. This is another beautiful, beautiful episode of Succeed Success Group. I'm here to talk to you guys today about a very, very interesting topic and one that we'll definitely address again within the channel. Definitely something we're going to talk about again. It is a topic that affects so many people. Before we get into the topic, before we get into today's amazing video, I want to make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, turn on the bell so that you can be alerted to any notifications and any videos that we do here on the channel, so you can always just be aware of when we come up with this amazing content. So let's get right into today's topic, guys. Once again, I just appreciate everyone for being here. I thank everyone for tuning in, chiming in. Please leave a comment on the topic and let's get right into it. So today's topic, guys, is how to break free from peer pressure. And it's just such an important topic. It's such a serious topic that everyone goes through. I believe that as you get older in your journey, as you get older in life, that peer pressure should be something that should affect you less. But you can talk to any adult who's in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 20s, 30s. You can talk to any adult and they will tell you that peer pressure is probably something that they still go through. Maybe it's something that they shouldn't go through, but I think if we're being honest, I think we all go through peer pressure to some degree. And I'm going to maybe on another episode, share a direct peer pressure situation that I went through, how I handled it, and things of that nature. Today, we're just going to talk generally around the topic of peer pressure. It's something that I want you guys to be aware of. It's something that I want you to kind of know that's out there, and it's something that I want you to handle so that you don't fall victim to peer pressure in negative ways. So first, let's get into some of the different types of peer pressure that are out there. I have 6 that are out there, and then we'll just kind of break those 6 down, and then we'll get into some other things related to the topic of peer pressure. So you have spoken peer pressure, you have unspoken peer pressure, you have direct peer pressure, you have indirect peer pressure, you have positive peer pressure, which is the best, and then you have negative peer pressure, which is probably the worst, and it's probably the most common peer pressure that you find. So, spoken peer pressure is, I guess you could take it for the literal sense when someone is speaking to you directly about a situation that's involving you getting involved in a situation that maybe you wouldn't typically have gotten involved in. And I'll give you exact definitions for each of the 6 if you are taking notes or if you want to take notes on these topics. Basically, the purpose of today's video is to just make sure that you're strong, to make sure that you're a leader, to make sure that you're standing on your own, to make sure that you're not surrounding yourself with negative groups or negative groups of people. I will address a situation that took place in Chicago recently. I believe it was a couple days ago, involving several teens that were involved in some situations, and I would definitely say that a lot of those teens were involved with peer pressure. And this was the situation where you had teens going downtown who were at the 31st Street Beach and then just kind of migrated towards the downtown area and caused a lot of mayhem. It was just, a pretty wild situation. And looking at the situation on the outside, looking in, because I researched the situation just a bit, and I would definitely say that it was people involved with peer pressure that probably didn't even know it. And that might have been an example of unspoken peer pressure. So, you had groups of people that were doing similar things that were wrong, and no one was necessarily telling them to do these things. It was unspoken. They were taking the lead or taking an example of another person that was doing something wrong. So that would probably be a good definition for the second type of peer pressure, which is unspoken peer pressure. But let's get into every situation, and we might address that topic later within the video of the groups, large groups of teens that were doing the wrong thing. So spoken peer pressure. This type of peer pressure involves one individual or a group asking another individual to participate in some type of behavior. In a group setting, the pressure felt is much stronger as there is power in numbers. So when you are in a group, when you are around a lot of other people, and the group could be two, the group could be three, then typically it is a stronger type of peer pressure, because when you're in a group setting, more people can affect one person, or more people can affect a group of people. So that is spoken peer pressure. Unspoken peer pressure, which might have occurred in the situation that I just referred to. Unspoken peer pressure. This type of peer pressure involves an individual being exposed to certain behaviors, trends, or choices of others and feeling the pressure to conform. So this would definitely be that situation. And this is just, there's so many people that have affected their lives in the wrong way and negative ways because I think they fall victim to peer pressure. So, if you look at people who have joined gangs and done really negative things within that gang, or, joined groups that are just negative groups, I definitely would say that they might have fallen victim to unspoken peer pressure. You're not being talked to directly, but because of the group that you're around, or the group that you're surrounding yourself with, then you are falling victim to that level of peer pressure, or you're falling victim to the things that that group is doing. So that would be a definite example of unspoken peer pressure. Let's go to number 3. Direct peer pressure, or the third type of peer pressure on the list. There's 6 altogether. So direct peer pressure. This type of peer pressure is challenging as it is very specific, to behavior-based conformity, and can be spoken or unspoken. Direct peer pressure can often feel heightened because of your own discomfort of the environment we're in at the time of experiencing direct peer pressure. So let me say that again. Direct peer pressure can often feel heightened because of your own discomfort of the environment that you're in, or we're in, at the time of experiencing direct peer pressure. So, this could be, again, gang activity. If you're in a group that is doing wrong and you're a part of that group, you can feel peer pressure to, do the wrong thing because you're part of that group. That could be anything, that could be anything. There's some police officers who have done wrong within their tenure as a police officer, and they might have fell victim to peer pressure of other police officers doing wrong things. There are, groups of people in business who have committed illegal acts because maybe they saw other people in that organization committing an illegal act, and they felt that because they're part of that group, then hey, I'm not going to be an individual. I'm going to conform to the group and the peer pressure of the group and just go ahead and do what everyone else is doing. So I would say that would definitely be an example of direct peer pressure. And then you have indirect peer pressure. This type of peer pressure is less invasive on our internal voice to behave in a certain way. However, it can validate a behavior or activity we want to try but haven't tried yet. It can be unspoken but also influence how we feel about ourselves. An example of this could be, someone who is maybe at a party who has never tried a drink, but because, everyone in the party is so-called drinking or doing, maybe illegal activities, drugs, whatever the case may be, hey, well, I want to try a drink too, or, everyone in the group is doing it, so I did it too. I'm with a group and we were in the mall and everyone stole from, this store, and instead of walking the other way, I want to be part of the group, so hey, I stole too. I've seen it in terms of this aspect of peer pressure, indirect. I've seen it with students where, you might have a group of students or a group of young people who are being disrespectful. And instead of, the individual saying, hey, I'm not going to be disrespectful, I'm not going to do what you guys are doing, which I very well know is wrong, I'm going to do exactly what you guys are doing because I want to be part of that group. And I just want to say before we get into the next two aspects of peer pressure, this is such a serious topic. I've seen so many people fall victim to peer pressure and they might not even know that it's happening. But I guess what it kind of boils down to is everybody wants to be part of something, right? Everybody wants to be in some group. Everybody wants to be a part of some sort of club or group or partnership with different people. And you have great partnerships, and then you have people who are not involved with great partnerships or don't have great opportunities going for themselves. And you as an individual somehow think that this group is cool or this is the in crowd, and then you start conforming to that group and doing some of the similar things that group is doing that are wrong. And what happens is sometimes before you know it, you get in too deep. You get in too deep into these situations. And we could take gangbanging for example. I'm not saying that everyone in the gang is not tough, but I know there's a large majority of people who have gotten themselves involved in a gang, and they did this because they wanted to fit in with that group or conform with that group. They're not the toughest person in the world, but that group accepted them because they started doing some of the activities that group was a part of. And now you have individuals that have fallen victim to peer pressure and are doing wrongful acts in a gang that aren't really that tough and really don't want to be in a gang, but they think that's the cool crowd or they think that's the cool thing to do. And then next thing you know, they're in too deep. They might have committed a crime. They might have committed a murder or a robbery or something that is going to lead to them getting, incarcerated for a long amount of time. And it really all stemmed from the peer pressure that either that person put on themselves or the peer pressure that group was putting on that individual. And it's just so many different levels of peer pressure. You have peer pressure in terms of appearance, peer pressure in terms of clothes, wanting to be in the in crowd or the in group. It's just a lot of different levels of peer pressure that exist. Now this one, everyone, I want to say this is my favorite type of peer pressure, and I want to say, if you're going to be involved with peer pressure, this is definitely the one you want to be involved in. This will lead to positive outcomes and you being successful. And this is positive peer pressure. I see this a lot in sports. I see this a lot with athletes or people that are driven towards success. So let's say you're on a team and, that team that you're on, you guys have practice, you have games coming up, you have workouts, you have to maintain a certain diet and things of that nature because you want to perform at top levels within that team sport. And so you have a group of individuals that are positively motivating that individual or individuals to get to practice on time, work as hard as you can. Let's take basketball, for example. Make your free throws. Do you understand that play? Do you know your defensive assignment? Are you prepared for the game? We're going to go and get some extra shots up after practice. We're going to go do sprints after practice. Are you down? Are you ready to do this? Do you want to be a part of what we're doing? We all want to get Division I scholarships, so this is what we're going to do. Do you want to be part of this group? And that is positive peer pressure. That's where you have a group of individuals that is encouraging you to do the right thing. That could also be, a cohort. A cohort is a group of individuals that typically is trying to obtain some level of educational, certification or educational level. That might be, if you're in high school, positive peer pressure could be from a group of individuals that you're around that is thriving to go to college and get a great degree and then turn that degree into, business ownership or starting a career or getting a great career for themselves. So, they're studying, they're researching colleges, they go on college trips, they research colleges online on YouTube or whatever the case may be. That group is always thriving and striving for greatness to obtain greatness at the collegiate level and just graduate from high school and really make something out of themselves. So that is positive peer pressure, where it's like, hey, do you want to be part of this group? This is what we're doing. This is what we're about. This is where we're trying to go. We think that you're a great fit and we would like you to be a part of that group. So that is positive peer pressure, and it's the most beautiful thing that I think you can be a part of, where you just have a group of individuals and they're just motivating each other on a constant basis to do the right thing and just push forward and strive for greatness. So let me give you a definition of positive peer pressure. And again, thank you for being here, guys. This is such a great topic. This type of peer pressure can be direct, indirect, spoken, and or unspoken. That is positive peer pressure. This is pressure felt in one-on-one situations or groups that yields positive results. Let me say that again, that yields positive results and healthier lifestyle choices. So this is the type of peer pressure you want to go for. No matter what level, if it's unspoken or spoken or direct or indirect, you want it to be positive. A lot of times you have peer pressure for people who are working out and trying to, obtain a certain healthy lifestyle within their life. So, you have a group of people saying, well, let's go work out. We're going to eat right. We're going to drink water. We're going to, practice different eating habits that are going to lead to us being successful within our health journey. And that is the type of group that you want to be around. You have people who are going to not do drugs, who are not going to promote a unhealthy lifestyle. And that is the group you want to be around, as opposed to, we know that thousands of people who are out here strung out on drugs or who practice, just illegal activity, and it's not positive peer pressure. That is negative peer pressure that is going to lead to more negative situations. And there's so many people, thousands of millions of people around the world that are involved in negative peer pressure. So you want your peer pressure, if you're getting peer pressure from a group or a person, you want it to be positive. That will lead to you being extremely successful and lead to you being on top of your game. Okay, and the last type of peer pressure, guys, is the opposite of the one we just covered. Positive peer pressure, it is negative peer pressure. And this is the one that I just hate to see. I hate when I see a person that is basically trying to find their way. And I think I see this more in the youth. But the youth could extend to early adulthood and things of that nature. But it's typically a person that's trying to find their way, and they are being led in the wrong way, or they are getting negative feedback. They're getting negative results, and this could be in your home from your parents. This could be your friends. This could be the circle that you're around, but they are pushing you in a negative route. Instead of, we'll take the sports example, let's say you're playing football. Instead of going to football practice, hey, we're not going to go to football practice. We're going to go to this party. And at this party, they're going to be doing all type of wild things. And hey, do you want to go? Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll go. What about practice? What about, going D1? What about trying to get a scholarship? Well, no, I'm not worried about that right now. I'm trying to fit in with this group because this is the cool group. And let me explain something to you guys. A lot of times you're already in the cool group. If you're playing sports, you're in the cool group. You don't need to get into the gang crowd. I've seen far too many athletes and people who are already in a cool group try to fit into the wrong group. If you're in a group that's going to college and who's going to have great careers, you don't need to fit into the group that is not going to be working and is not going to have anything going for themselves and is not going to really be striving for greatness. But too many times I see people, typically younger, but again, this could stretch all the way into early adulthood and then definitely adulthood. I see too many people who try to fit into that wrong crowd because for whatever reason, maybe they've always wanted to be part of that, or that's the perceived cool group. We have a thing in our society where, you know, you kind of give glory to the bad guy, or, you know, the guy that is in a bad crowd and things of that nature. And you know, you want to be careful with that. I'll leave it at that. You want to be very careful of glorifying negativity and negative outcomes. So negative peer pressure is last on the list. This type of peer pressure can also be direct, indirect, spoken, or unspoken. The peer pressure can challenge individuals to do things they might not usually do and engage in such behaviors because others are doing so, and it's a way to belong. So when I go back to the situation of the thousands of youth, or probably hundreds of youth that were, you know, downtown doing wrong acts, stumping cars and jumping on top of cars and just really causing a lot of commotion and chaos, fighting and things of that nature, that's negative peer pressure. And I don't know if all of those teens in that situation wanted to do that, but hey, I'm with this crowd. This is what everybody's doing. Hey, we're all cool. Let's go ahead and just do the wrong thing. So one of the main aspects of peer pressure in terms of breaking free from peer pressure is being an individual, being a leader, doing your own thing, being an individual and practicing individuality, you know, letting your own individual talents shine through. Not being afraid to walk away, not being afraid to get out of the car. You know, there's a famous line in Boys in the Hood where one of the characters was in a car with other individuals who were about to commit an extremely violent act. And this is just a lesson. And that individual knew that this was not his crowd. He knew that, you know, he was about to get himself involved in a very serious situation, and he asked them to pull over so he could get out of the car. And, you know, so many people have not done what that person did in that situation. They have not said, hey, let me get away from this crowd, or hey, let me not go to this situation, or can you let me out, or, you know, I don't want to be a part of this. They're in too deep, and then they get themselves involved, and next thing you know, it's too late, or you know, you're just basically you're on a track to failure that you might not even see yet, but the actions that you're taking are definitely going to lead to failure. And that failure could be, you know, now, it could be in the near future, in the far future, but you're taking steps because of negative peer pressure that are going to lead to your downfall. And you want to do the exact opposite. You want to break free from peer pressure. You want to have an open mind. You want to have clear thoughts. You want to know that you're an individual and you have every power in you and every capability to walk away from a bad situation. You have every capability to turn around and say no, and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fall victim to this peer pressure. I'm not going to be, you know, weak. I'm not going to be weak of the mind, weak of the heart. I'm not going to do it. You know, I know better. I have values, I have morals and things of that nature. And I think that we have too many people who are not being strong and practicing leadership, and therefore they're falling victim to negative peer pressure. And, you know, it's just all different types of negative peer pressure. The obvious, you know, far right peer pressure can be things as drastic as murder and attempted murders and, you know, aggravated batteries and just these real egregious situations that some people have gotten involved in because they're following the wrong crowd. And then there could also just be peer pressure to do, you know, more basic things. So there's all different levels of negative peer pressure, just like there's all different levels of positive peer pressure. But overall, I want you to understand that you have to get yourself around positive people. You have to get yourself around positive peer pressure. And, if you are someone who is a leader naturally, then lead a group in the right way. Don't lead the group in the wrong way. If you see people doing wrong, try to correct them. And if they're not responsive to your corrections, then move on. Don't waste your time trying to correct negative energy of someone that is not understanding and not getting it. And hopefully, you being a leader, when you do put forth that positive energy and those positive thoughts towards a person that maybe isn't as positive, then hopefully they reciprocate those thoughts and listen to you and really take what you're saying and just go to the top with your positive message. So real quick, 85% of high schoolers have felt peer pressure. I think that, again, more peer pressure is felt at an earlier age. But again, you deal with peer pressure in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s and your 30s. You deal with peer pressure in all different types of levels. 75% of adolescents have tried alcohol due to peer pressure. Definitely not something you want to do. 70% of teen smokers have begun as a result of peer pressure. And 33% of teen boys feel pressured to have sex because of peer pressure. And it's also obviously, I'm sure, similar with girls and women that are teens. I don't have the exact percentages on that, but there's obviously a level of peer pressure for both boys and girls in terms of, doing some things that they probably need to wait on and be patient on. 46% of parents have not discussed sexual peer pressure with their teens or with their kids. And I would also like to say that there's probably a percentage of